What if you could walk on the sun's surface? At first glance, this sounds like the worst vacation idea ever. Forget about a beach resort in Spain. Imagine booking a walking tour on the sun. Sandals, check sunglasses, check SPF 50 billion. Probably still not enough. But let's assume for a moment that you, a very brave or very foolish stickman, had the chance to stroll across the sun's surface. What would actually happen? Well, in reality, you wouldn't get very far. The sun isn't solid. It's not like a giant glowing basketball you can bounce on. The surface of the sun that we see is actually called the photosphere. Think of it as a thin, glowing fog that's only a few hundred kilometers thick. If you tried to stand on it, you'd fall straight through, like stepping onto a hologram projected by a very angry, very hot projector. So, unless you've mastered walking on clouds made of plasma, you won't exactly get that nice crunchy gravel sound under your boots. But let's keep pretending. Let's say you can somehow walk on the photosphere as if it were solid ground. What would that be like? First, you'd be stepping onto a surface heated to about 5,500 degrees Celsius. That's hotter than lava, hotter than any earthly fire, and about the temperature at which your atoms would start considering a divorce. Even before you touch down, your body would vaporize faster than water on a hot frying pan. You wouldn't just get a sunburn, you'd become the sunburn. Suppose we give you some miracle space boots and a heat-proof suit. Congratulations, you're not instantly reduced to cosmic dust. But now you've got another problem, the sunlight itself. The brightness of the sun on the surface is so extreme that it would be like standing in the middle of 10,000 nuclear bombs going off every second. Even with protective goggles, your eyes wouldn't see much, because the suit would probably just melt into a puddle of regret. And then there's gravity. People don't often think about this, but the sun's gravity is about 28 times stronger than Earth's. If you weigh 70 kilograms on Earth, on the sun, you'd weigh almost 2 tons. So while you're trying to strut across the surface like Neil Armstrong, your legs are screaming for mercy. Forget about walking. You'd collapse instantly under your own weight. Congratulations, you are now a puddle on the sun. But wait, it gets better. The sun's surface is not calm. It's boiling, churning plasma. Gigantic convection currents toss hot gases upward, creating granules the size of continents. Imagine standing on the world's biggest stovetop, where every burner is exploding randomly. Solar flares, which can be larger than Earth itself, shoot out plasma arcs like cosmic flamethrowers. One of those flares could fling you into space like a popcorn kernel caught in an explosion. Not exactly the scenic stroll you were promised. Still, let's imagine you survive all this with magic technology. You're walking along, waving at the Earth, trying to take selfies that are completely washed out because everything is brighter than your phone screen at max brightness. What would the view be like? Well, you wouldn't see much of a horizon, just endless glowing plasma around you. The sun doesn't really have landscapes unless you count giant sunspots, which are cooler, darker regions on the surface. Fun fact, cooler here means about 3,500 degrees Celsius. So, yen, in the sun's real estate market, the sunspots are the affordable apartments. What about your stroll's impact on science? If somehow you could plant a flag or leave a footprint on the sun, it would be erased almost instantly. The plasma is constantly moving and reshaping itself, so your heroic astronaut shoeprint would last about as long as an ice cube on a barbecue grill. In other words, don't expect future generations to visit the historic site where humanity walked on the sun. Now, all of this brings us to the bigger question. Why would you even want to do this? Walking on the moon was one thing. Walking on Mars is a dream. Walking on the sun is just a very creative form of suicide. But as a thought experiment, it reminds us how alien our own star really is. From Earth, the sun looks like a calm, round disk, cheerfully shining in the sky. Up close, it's a raging inferno of unimaginable energy, constantly reshaping itself, and without it, we wouldn't even be here. So, what if you could walk on the sun's surface? Best case scenario. You'd get a 2-second stroll before being squashed, vaporized, blinded, and fried. Worst case scenario. Well, actually, that was already the best case scenario. Reality check. You can't walk on the sun, and that's probably for the best. So next time you're outside on a warm day complaining that it's too hot, just remember, You're standing on a cozy planet 150 million kilometers away from the sun. If you really want hot, try taking a walk on the sun, though I promise it will be your last walk.